Hey, welcome to the 5-Minute Quickie. And this episode is about something I heard on the radio, a sports program on the radio, that what I heard just really gelled with the philosophy behind Personal Development Unplugged. And I just had to muse about it. And because I was musing about it, I wanted to share that musings with you so you could muse about it too. So we could muse in stereo, as it were. So do have a listen after this. I think it's very, very musable. Enjoy.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, welcome back, my friends, to the 5-Minute Quickie podcast with me, Paul Clough. And what's the 5-Minute Quickie podcast? Well, it's a podcast in 5 minutes. The unfortunate thing is, it never lasts 5 minutes. But it's really things that I've just found out quickly, or something I've heard that I want to share with you. Something to make you think, because it made me think. Or a little, I don't like the word hack, but we'll use hack. You know, it's something that I found out that we could just use really quickly, or you could just practice. Deconstruct something I've heard and think we can use that. So that's what this little podcast is about, because you see, it's called I Can't Be My Best. And I don't know whether it's the multiverse, the universe conspiring with me, or is it the blooming law of attraction, if you believe that, or is it that reticulating, activating system? You know, that biological thing that when you buy something that you've never seen around that much, and then all of a sudden, once you've got it, you see it every blooming where. I know it could be any one of those things, and I don't care. You see, in the FMQ, where it says, I'm leaving. Do you remember that's, I'm leaving everyone I find, or everything I find, in a better place when I first met them. I recorded that, thinking about it a little bit, and then I'm listening to the radio while I go to the gym. And it's a sports radio show. And these guys are talking about a thing called, I can't be my best if you're not your best. And I'm told, although I couldn't find it on the internet, it's part of a Zulu warrior chant. But let's just think about that. Let's just muse. I can't be my best if you're not your best. Isn't that really the whole art of selfless service? Wanting to serve other people so they can be their best. And in return, without wanting that return, you get to be your best too. And the thing is, in the sports world, think about it. In the sports world, a team can only succeed when it has every part of that team supporting each other. Has to, doesn't it? If you've got something which isn't firing, to its best, like an engine, you might have 6-cylinder grunt power or whatever they call it. But if one of those cylinders isn't firing to its potential, the whole thing is actually slower than it ever could be. So if a team is better, so even looking at I put it to the wholeness of us, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And sometimes we say there's different parts of us. But if a part works in its individual way, there's always a conflict going on. We've seen that in different organisations, haven't we? Where you've got different parts of an organisation. Do they all pull together? Not always. But when they do, boom. And that's really, I think, taking responsibility. And I wanted to think about this. I can't be my best if you're not your best. Which is in some ways, let's say selfless service, is some ways what this podcast is all about. Okay, I can't be my best if you're not your best, but I have to be my best for you to be your best. It's a lovely circle to be in, isn't it? And it's all about taking responsibility, I think. Taking that responsibility, which is hard to do sometimes, I know, to make sure others are able to form at their best. They're able to fire on all cylinders. And they are to be the best they can be. And when they're the best they can be, we are at our happiest. And you see, isn't that loving everything and leaving everyone and everything in a better place than when you first met them? And I thought to myself, two things about this. A little muse came into my mind while I'm just loading up the computer. I want everyone to be their best. But what about starting on the inside? Because sometimes we have to want to be our best. For you to be your best, so I can be my best. Whoa. So having that silent mantra maybe when we wake up, that I can't be my best if you're not your best, and you can't be your best if I'm not my best. So we've turned it on its head a little bit. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Hearing something, listening to it, letting it go in, thinking about it, musing as we call it, and then coming up with something that really suits us. And it suited me that way. I can't be my best if you're not your best, if I'm not my best. And it just seems to make sense to me. I wonder what you've heard. Something similar like that maybe, that's got you to think. Got you to think in a different way. Because as we know, we can change in a moment. Something can just inspire us to think in a different way. And when we think in a different way, all of a sudden it's as if those parts are all firing at the same time. And then the whole is greater than those some of the parts. That's it really, just something to think about more than anything, just something to think about. And if you took it on board, what would happen? Here's the thing. I'm not going to ask you to close your eyes. But what would happen if you had that as your mantra? If you woke up in the morning and honestly took that responsibility to say, I can't be my best if you're not your best, if I'm not my best. That selfless service, what would happen? What would happen to everyone you met? How would you leave them? What would happen to you when you left them, even before you met them? What would happen? What would happen to the results in your life? What would happen to the results of other people in your life? What would happen to this little old planet Earth? Well, it's all got to be positive, isn't it? Which means it's a good thing to do. So all I'm going to say is, have a little muse, get your cup of coffee, get your glass of water, glass of wine, get a beer, and muse. Maybe get that journal out and go, I wonder what I can think about, what I could do for myself. What type of thing can I start to put into my life that will create the best life for others, that will create a better life for me. There you go. Lots in there, lots to think about. You might think it's a load of old pony, but hey, I think there's something deep. And we just have to search for it, don't we? Anyway, have more fun than you can stand. Muse to your heart's content. In fact, enjoy every heartbeat. Until next time, my friend, the next 5-minute quickie or the longer podcast, well, I'll see you soon. Anyway, but before you go, have a listen to this before you go. Just a couple of things. Remember, on paulcloughonline.com, if you go to that website, paulcloughonline.com, front page, hit it, there's free hypnosis. A free hypnosis track that I've recorded for you just to reduce anxiety. So go there, download it, and just have fun at reducing your anxiety. I hope you enjoyed this shorter podcast. And if you did, I'd love you to share it. Share the golden nuggets, share what you learn what you share, all that stuff. And share the longer podcast. Well, just share the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. It does enormous good for getting people to help change themselves. You'll be doing something to help other people, which is an awesome thing to do, which eventually will help this little old planet of ours as we bang on about. If you like this shorter podcast, the 5-minute quickies, what about a longer podcast? Here's a memory. I've got a quick intro from one from the archives. It's way back, was called #80. Who do you think you're fooling? Here's the intro. Have a little listen, and if you fancy it, zip back and have a listen, and maybe just go back through the other archives or the archived episodes and see. Because if you're new to this, there's so much here for you. So much. Don't go anywhere else. You don't need to. I've got everything. Of course, you're going to go everywhere else as well. Diversity. We need as much as we can to just improve ourselves. But don't. stay here. Anyway, do subscribe, do everything, okay? And if you could, leave a review at the old iTunes. I think it's called, is it Google Music Play or something like that now? But the old iTunes, that would be great. Or Castbox or whatever your platform of choice is. If you can leave a review, that would be awesome too. Anyway, here's that little intro. And after that, you'll be leaving the unplugged mind. Here's your quick heads up for today's podcast. And it's all about the reasons I give to myself and the reasons why I don't do stuff. And when it comes down to it, they're all BS because they're just excuses. And I'm sure when you listen, you'll find similar things in your life. And then I'll go on to, well, I go on quite a bit actually, but I'll go on to how we can change that so we take full responsibility and stop living on the effect side of life. So if that interests you, dive in, okay? I'll see you on the other side.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.